Welcome to another Asylum movie review, and this one was a rough one to be honest. Uh, this one is another mockbuster, and so far it's probably the worst I've seen so far. I honestly, it's called Transmorphers, which is supposed to be the Asylum version of Transformers because these movies came out the same year and they happen to have giant robots. But these movies pretty much have nothing in common besides that, because this movie is less Transformers and more like the Terminator. Like if it was like it reminded me a lot of the Terminator Genesis Resistance opening scene where John Connor, Kyle Reese, and the Resistance stopped the T-800s. And to some extent, Terminator Salvation, which does that, and of course, the opening of Terminator 2 did that as well. So it's less like a Transformers ripoff and more like the Terminator Resistance movie, or something like that. Only you don't have John Connor or Kyle Reese, you just have generic soldiers. It's one of it's clearly one of those instances where it seems like the studio just trying to market as a ripoff of Transformers to cash in on that, and because they realize they happen to have giant monsters. Because if Transformers was not as I have a feeling Transformers was not coming out in 2007, or they were not doing mockbusters, this movie would have been called something else, not Transformers or Transmorphers. Since this is again barely a Transformers ripoff, and they apparently had other sequels, one to cash in on Revenge of the Fallen, and the other one to cash in on another to cash on Rise of the Beast, as well as a spinoff to cash in on Bumblebee called I forgot the name of it, but it have a ripoff of Bumblebee. Was it called Wasp? I don't know. But yeah, that's a big issue of it. How very little Transmorpher is of a ripoff of Transformers. Kind of like how WhatsApp is barely a ripoff of Up, besides the fact that they just happen to have uh a balloon house, a floating house, whatever. Um, Also, like I said, the characters were very generic. These characters are very wooden. They're not very fun. The dialogue and acting is very abysmal. Honestly, at several occasions, every time they say a line, it really is kind of not very good. And they some of the are characters who have love interest, but they don't have that much chemistry, to be honest. Two in particular, two uh uh, uh romances in the film. And the special effects and the action, as you expect from a silent movie, is really bad. It's really corny. It's really laughable. It's very cheap, very rushed. The robots, the Transmorphers, look very cartoonish, look weird, and just generic looking. They just look like generic robots. Sometimes they do kind of morph in something else, but nothing too crazy. Like one then transform into a giant like blaster, like as its head, something like that. I think it was in the opening as well, and so in some of the parts in the movie. They are not in the movie. They're not in the movie a lot. They have less screen time than the Transformers do in the Transformers movies, but and they're also the antagonists. There's no good guy in this film. There's basically no Optimus Prime, no Asylum Optimus Prime in this movie. Um, I also and I really thought, and but feel like but why I feel a little disappointed, a little upset about this, because this movie was rough to watch. It was really extremely boring to watch. I fell asleep a couple times, so I reversed back to what I was sleeping at to catch on what I missed. But this movie was rough to watch. It was a really poorly paced movie. It really wasted my life. But I only had to do it because I like watching bad movies sometimes. And for his channel, the Asylum movie reviews series. But yeah, I had a really rough time watching the film. It was really boring to sit through. The climax wasn't very exciting. It was too, it was not that exciting. It was too cheap. It was too dumb, honestly. So yeah, I gotta say, I was not the biggest fan of Transmorphers. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, honestly. And yeah, so yeah, that's my overall thoughts on Transmorphers. The one where a bunch of soldiers try to stop at the future, try to kill the alien robots taking over the world, and it's a really terrible movie, to be honest. Oh, and also there was another thing. There was a fight scene between two female characters, and it's a very heavily bad shot scene from the editing to the choreography, which it really looks like they're trying to be careful of each other. They don't want to hurt each other, or like or they didn't have apparently they didn't have the budget to make a cool action scene between three female characters. That was a very awkward fight, a brief fight, honestly, as in that scene. Um, and yeah, really, yeah. So overall, Transmorphers was not a movie I enjoyed. It was not it was not a so bad as good movie either. It was just really, really bad, honestly. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So yeah, peace out. Bye. See you for another big video.